Yo, what up YouTube? It's your boy Snoozy. We're here with a healing guide for the bosses in City of Threads. For the first boss, you're going to be dealing with Orator Krizvix. I don't know how to say it, but this boss fight is a little bit rough. He was a lot harder in the beginning of the season, but he's not too awful now. This is going to be primarily a tank fight, so as a healer, the couple things you're going to want to be paying attention to are the Shadows of Doubt orbs. You're going to want to try to get the squishiest DPS first, which in my case in this group is going to be my mage, and then you're going to want to make sure you have some type of AoE healing going for this vociferous indoctrination, and you're going to want to make sure everyone's moving with the tank at the same time. For general tips and tricks here as a healer is you're going to want to try to stand behind the boss and try to stand off of the melee as much as you can. As you can see, sometimes your melee are going to AD and they're just going to wig out the whole time, so it's going to be a little bit tough. But if you can, you're going to want to try to stay out of the way. As you see here, I stopped moving, but one of the other DPS kept moving, and it causes a lot of issues. So you're going to want to try to make sure your positioning is good, and you're going to want to try to make sure their positioning is okay so that you can get these off without one-shotting your friends like I just did. This boss fight is very simplistic in itself, with just moving, dispelling orbs, and dealing with the AoE. Here I'm in comms with my team. If you're not in comms, I highly recommend using your ping function before you dispel someone so that the entire group is aware of who's being dispelled. So you would ping that one player, you would give it about a second so everyone can gain awareness of it, and then you would dispel them so everyone is ready for that particular dispel to go off. So no one gets one shot, no one gets stunned, and no one dies. This boss is super chill, and that's enough of me talking. Go ahead and enjoy the rest of this boss fight as we slam this boy into the Shadow Realm. The next bosses we are dealing with are the Fangs of the Queen. Now these two boys are kind of annoying, and so you're going to need some gamers while you're in here for this. So everyone needs to be standing at a corner so that when the bait comes for their synergetic step, that everyone is ready to go so we can game and get these boys to bug out on the wall. Your primary healing is going to be these bleeds that are coming out, as well as these icicles. If you're a Disc Priest, make sure you have Master Spells so you can take off this first one and try to save your friends like I had to save that Rep Pally right there. So here you see we're not gaming because these boys are just jumping all over the place, but ideally if you do it right like here on this last one, they're going to jump into the wall, barely move, and DPS are able to keep damage. As you roll into this middle phase here, the next mechanic you're going to want to pay attention to is your Rime Dagger. Now if you're running with a tank like a prop paladin, then that can immune this, it's going to be kind of easy because the paladin's just going to instantly take it off and not even have to worry about the damage. But if you're not running with a paladin, then you're going to want to make sure you have some cooldowns going, because you're going to have a lot of damage on the group going out leading up to that mechanic. It's going to go off twice, so make sure you're using something that can last for about 15 seconds, top your friends off, and then to get them ready to go. As you see this synergetic step, or synergistic step, I don't know how to say it, I'm not good at words. This goes off again, and this time we were gaming, and that's really awesome. So as we move back into this next set, now it's going to be move your feet or lose your seat. And that's going to be the shade slashes coming out with the bleed. So you as a healer are going to need to be on your toes and getting healing out while they're throwing bleeds out, while shade slashes are popping off, and now you need to move your feet and dodge. So ideally what you want to do is you kind of want to stand either as close to melee as you can to move around, or you're going to want to stand way far out. Now we have the second wave of icicles here. Always dispel yourself first, and then from there, do a little bit of triage, save the DPS that are dying the most, and then the ones that can survive, dispel them as you go. This boss fight can become very chaotic, but you as the healer can stay calm with really good positioning, with really good healing cooldown, and really good gameplay by moving your feet, by keeping your head, and making sure you're staying on top of damage before it hits. Do not be a reactive healer, be a proactive healer. That's enough talking from me. Watch us as we put these boys in the dirt and move on to the next boss fight. The next boss we're dealing with is Globby Boy, also known as the Coagulation. This dude is awful. It is a rough boss fight as a healer, but there is a lot of things you can do to make this a little bit easier on yourself. You're going to be dealing with Vicious Darkness, which is going to be an AoE damage to the rest of the group, so make sure you're keeping your AoE heals up basically the entire boss fight, because that is going to be coming every 15 seconds or so. For these globs that are coming in, you as the healer need to avoid them as much as possible. Do not be a hero. Do not try to be Superman. Avoid them as much as you can. Only take them if you absolutely have to avoid healing the boss. The group is going to help you. A lot of the classes have a lot of abilities to work with this ability, so try the best you can with just healing and getting through it. The big damage Dark Pulse here, you're going to want to commit externals, you're going to need a Rapture, you're going to need AMZ, you're going to need an Ancestral Guidance, or people will die. Do not hold cooldowns. Do not be stingy with your buttons. You want to be letting it fly constantly throughout this boss fight, because damage will not stop for you. It will continue to go. As we said in the last boss fight, be proactive. So as you see what is coming, queue up a spell, queue up your totems, queue up your atonements, queue up your renewing mists, queue up your rejuves or your hots or whatever you have as your healer spec. Make sure you are queuing them up, because this damage will continue to move and move and move as the boss fight goes on. Here we have a rotation of who is taking these orbs. We have a prop pally and a ret pally, so we're lucky on that, with a DK that is able to AMS it. For these Vicious Darknesses, you cannot get caught slipping on them. You need to be ready every single time. This is a boss fight that once you are behind, you will stay behind. Do not get caught being lazy. Do not get caught being chill. You need to be on your toes the entirety of this boss fight. So the second Dark Pulse, right after having to take orbs, I commit my Power Word Barrier. I have my Mind Bender with my Mind Blast. I'm popping everything I possibly can to get my group through this, while also watching my tank die in front of me even after all of that. You have to make sure you're on top of things and that you're pushing your buttons regularly. Do not sit on your buttons, but continue to be proactive. And this boss fight will still be stressful. It will still be hard. This is one of those bosses I cannot say is a piece of cake, because it is not. But we still put this boy in the dirt, send him straight to the Shadow Realm, and he gets dealt with like the rest of them. Catch you guys later in the next boss fight. For the last boss, we have Izzo the Grand Splicer. This boy is a $1.50 of pain. So you're going to want to make sure you're paying attention to the splice mechanic that is coming out. A lot of groups sleep on it. This is the mechanic you want to be sending cooldowns for. This is the mechanic you want your DPS sending defensives for. It is going to be the thing that makes this boss fight feel incredibly hard. It is going to chunk your DPS down to about 50%, and then they're going to take damage from Umbral Weave or Tremor Slash or Tremor Slam, and that is going to be what kills them. Make sure you are pressing buttons for Splice. Do not wait until it almost kills your group to start pressing cooldowns. Tremor Slam is going to be a big AoE, so try to use anything that your group has. AMZ, AMS, Ice Block, whatever it is, Ancestral Guidance. Try to use something here to brunt that damage. Tremor Slam is definitely going to hurt a lot more than your Umbral Weave. Here we have a prop paladin, so he's bubbling your process of elimination. If you do not have a prop paladin, be sure to have pain sub for him or her. They are going to need it. That is going to be very, very, very dangerous for your tank. And make sure you're positioning well, because tanks like to run back in with that and one shot of DPS or the healer, so be careful. For Umbral Weave, you can avoid a lot of damage on that if you have classes that have movement immunities. If you pre-immune it, you won't take any damage from it, and it'll make it feel a whole lot easier. This boss fight can become very chaotic, but it is also very simplistic in nature because it rolls the same rotation and you have small lulls in damage where you can kind of reposition and take your time. But this is a boss fight that if you get behind and you get caught slipping, he will eat you alive and it will be over. So, running back through it, make sure you're popping your healing cooldowns for Splice. Make sure you're using a movement immunity for Umbral Weave. Make sure you're using externals for Tremor Slam, such as Power Word Barrier, Rapture, Ancestral Guidance. If you're a Mistweaver, make sure you're using your Thunder Focus Tea with your Crackling Jade Lightning. As a Resto Druid, pop your Wild Growth, pop your big AoE heals, because it is going to hurt a lot. So you're going to want to try to get through it. Tremor Slam is more dangerous than Umbral Weave. Outside of that, positioning. Make sure you're standing as far ahead with the tank as you can. You do not want to be behind, because these orbs go in a path. They don't just go to that spot and appear. They travel that path, and you will get one shot on the way. So stay up near melee, stay up near the group, and you should be good. This boy gets sent to the Shadow Realm like the rest of them. It was a little bit harder than others, but he gets sent nonetheless. I'll catch you later in the next one. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.